It's Brainwash with Dr. Tom and Guitar Picks with Rob Seals. Dire Straits, Sultans of Swing.
I think, gosh, Mark Knopfler, what a great player. One of the things that I really admire about Mark Knopfler is that he's continued to grow and change as a player and a writer and a composer over the years. And he's said often in interviews that you never master the guitar. You know, you spend a lifetime just growing and learning it and getting to know it. And I think that kind of humility comes across in his playing, because anyone who has seen him play would call him a master. And there's just something about that. That lick of Sultans of Swing that everybody knows, and all the guitar players, you know, that's one of those solos that you just had to go out and learn. But for me, it was sort of early beginnings of understanding that while, like I'm playing right now with the flat pick, and Knopfler is someone who plays with his fingers. And eventually I developed a style for myself that's loosely called hybrid picking, which it's sort of bastardized picking, where you're using the flat pick, but you're also using your fingers. And so being able to get the combination of those two sounds, because the string sounds different every time. Like if I play with a flat pick, it's got that kind of thing going on, and then if I play with the nail and an upstroke, it's got that going on, and then I can play with the fleshy part of the finger, and it's got that going on, and each of those is a very different phrasing, and he is able to mix that up with his thumb and his fingers, and I started trying to approximate that with the pick in between my thumb and first finger and the other fingers. And he's I think his phrasing is just so lyrical, and because he's a songwriter, he's such a melodic player, and I think it was the melodic, memorable quality of his playing that really captured me in the first place. And that's just a great song. It's sort of a guitar anthem, and it's also sort of the first undistorted guitar rock song that I remember thinking, that's still cool. You know, at this point, I'm trying to evolve and grow past the sort of hair metal of my youth into something slightly more respectable. Nothing against you hair metal people out there. I think we all come to whatever instruments we find for different reasons, and I'm going to sound like an after-school special here, but I was definitely that lost kid who found the guitar exactly at the moment when I could have found any number of illicit or otherwise dangerous things, and I know usually the guitar is synonymous with those things, but for me it had a voice all its own, and eventually it helped me find my voice as a player and as a writer, and so first it was just the sort of angry, loud, turn my amp up, I don't care if I'm in tune, I'm rocking, aren't I, kind of thing. And then after a time, as a self-taught player, I spent a summer at the Berklee School of Music in Boston and learned some music theory and began to fill in the gaps. And it was sort of like if you had played hoops on the playground your whole life, and then somebody said, all right now while you're bouncing the ball, that's called dribbling, you know. I kind of learned it backwards that way. But I'm glad that I did, because what happens then is you have an appreciation for the ideas that stick, and you also have to find a context for the theory to make it fit into a world that you sort of already constructed for yourself as a player. So now I have just as much appreciation for a screaming solo as for just a beautiful chord that just hangs. And I think that's because of all the different voices that we're going to talk about tonight.
It's Brainwash with Dr. Tom and Guitar Picks with Rob Seals. Journey, Stone in Love.
Yeah, I admit it. I like Journey. I think that's like a support group somewhere. Hi, I'm Rob. Hi, Rob. I listen to Journey. I'm going to stand by that because, first of all, so many people make fun of Journey, and then if you play a Journey Greatest Hits record, they can sing every word in their worst falsetto. Stone in love. And but I find whenever I meet somebody within about 10 to 15 years of my age, and we sit down, if they're on the drums and I'm on the guitar, and we can't figure out what we know, or if it was a rehearsal that's gone awry, at some point somebody is bound to break into the beginning of Stone in Love, and then it's off and a run, and kind of sad. But Neil Schon is such just a gorgeous melodic player, and I think the greatest testament to his to his playing is that you can sing most of his solos. I mean, when a Journey song comes on the radio, if you're humming or whistling along, you can hum or whistle along to his solos, and that's a guy then who's really composing and who's thinking of melody and is creating melody against the melody of the lyric itself, and that's a real skill. And I think for myself as a soloist, that's something I aspire to, but I find often that I'm still leaning on the crutches of scales and chord shapes and things that I know. And here's a guy who's just soaring to hit that melody that you're going to be whistling on the way home from the show, and to me, that's his enduring contribution, and that's why I said it. I claimed Journey on my list. You know it.
That's why you moved from hotel to hotel, just still can beat you up.
I know the headbangers are still coming after me for that one for sure. And I wanted to pick a Journey ballad on here, but I really didn't want to get beat up, so I thought at least a Journey rock song would be a good thing to go. I know the guys in Stick Boy can appreciate Journey because I've heard them do Journey in their sound checks, and I don't know if they're being ironic or not, but it doesn't matter because it's just a great song. So.
It's Brainwash with Dr. Tom and Guitar Picks with Rob Seals, U2, New Year's Day.
Well, U2 was my favorite band probably in 1982, and they're still my favorite band. And I'd like to think that I'm not stuck, that I haven't moved on. And I chose New Year's Day. It's not really a guitar anthem. I mean, The Edge is playing piano through the bulk of the song. He does take a solo. But U2 has had such an influence on me for a lot of reasons. One, the Edge's guitar lines are such that I never found myself picking out U2 songs. My band, like in high school, played "I Will Follow," which is a song that it seems like everybody learned to play when they were of that age. But in general, the Edge's compositions were just very simple and very orchestral in a lot of ways. In that he would play a repeating figure, often using my Desert Island delay pedal. And harmonically, the song would turn not on what he did, but on what Adam Clayton did on the bass. So in other words, the guitar is sort of like the axis of the song, and then the bass begins to be the thing that pivots around the piece. So in other words, like if I were making up, I'm just going to make up a lick here. Like if the Edge played something like, and you have to remember just a wonderful delay on that. And it just goes like it goes forever. You could just hear the delay. Anyway, if the Edge were doing something like that, and that's going on, Adam on the bass would just have the bass moving around that. So the same figure would be playing like, and Adam would be playing like. So you play the root, the 1, and then like the 5, and the 6. And the 4, that sort of thing, and it would just move around, but the Edge would be playing the same figure, and it would build this intensity so that when the Edge finally made a move, all of a sudden you just gathered so much momentum. And compositionally, I thought that was an interesting thing because he was sort of the guitar anti-hero. I mean, he wasn't the guy taking the screaming solo all the time, and it seemed like he said more about what he didn't say than what he said. Now, if you read anything about U2 or you know anything about him, part of that was because none of them could play when they started out. I mean, they kind of learned on the job, and I love that a style could be born out of that kind of necessity, because now the guy really is a monster who's created a style all his own. And in fact, all reports say this new U2 record that's coming out supposedly this summer is going to be very guitar focused, and the Edge is at the heart of all these songs. But I chose New Year's Day because as a songwriter, well, the band wrote the music, and Bono wrote the lyric. And again, as a young, very idealistic person, here was a band who were taking political stands in music that was infinitely singable and hummable and memorable. And the idea that you could deal with something like the Soviet occupation of Poland and yet write a love song about it at the same time was breathtaking to me. And as a young, deeply romantic, hopelessly romantic kid, I like the idea that your idealism and your love could somehow get on the same page and somehow come forth in your music. And so that's why I chose New Year's Day. I could have put any U2 song in here and been very happy about that selection.